Welcome to another installment of Math Basics, Mr. Besh. Today what we're going to do is solve equations with fractions. And I'm going to teach you how to do this by teaching you how to rid the equation of fractions using a least common multiple method. Now pay very close attention because this is requiring you to use all your prior knowledge and skill of solving equations that we've done in the past. My first equation, check it out. 1/3 times 2 minus x in parentheses is equal to negative 10. Well, the first thing I need to do, my first skill, is anytime I have a variable all by itself without a number in front of it, a coefficient, I put a 1 there. And notice how I did this. It makes our math a little bit simpler. Secondly, rule number 1 in an equation, if the equation asks you to do the distributive property, you need to do that first. And I have to do that. And I have to distribute the number out in front of the parentheses, 1/3 times both values inside the parentheses. In mathematics, when you multiply a fraction by a whole value, all you do is take the whole value times the numerator. Notice that the denominator, the bottom of the fraction, doesn't change. 1/3 times 2 becomes 2 over 3. And then 1/3 times negative 1x becomes a negative 1x over 3. And all of this comes out to be equal to negative 10. After I'm done with this, I notice I have fractions, two denominators, both 3. I need to pay very close attention to them because to use the least common multiple method, I need to take the least common multiple of the denominators. Now, in this case, it's kind of easy because the least common multiples of the same value is itself. So the least common multiple of 3 and 3 is 3. Now, what I need to do with this least common multiple is I need to multiply everything by 3, all 3 terms, 2/3, negative 1x over 3, and then last but not least, negative 10. All those need to be multiplied by 3. Now, the catch, if you're multiplying a fraction by a whole value, all you do is multiply the numerator. Only the numerator. The denominator stays the same. So when I multiply all these guys by 3, look what I get. 2/3 times 3 becomes 6 over 3. Then a negative 1x over 3 times 3 becomes a negative 3x over 3. And then all of that equaled negative 10 times 3, which was negative 30. Now hopefully, take a second here, digest what's going on, because hopefully you realize now what's happening. Doing this least common multiple method now made my fractions be able to reduce into whole values. 6 over 3 becomes 2. Negative 3x over 3 becomes negative 1x. And again, all of this is equal to negative 30. All I got to do is solve my equation from here. First step from left to right, get rid of the 2. Minus 2 from the left, minus 2 from the right side of the equal sign. This is going to give me negative 1x is equal to negative 32. And last but not least, divide both sides by negative 1. And when I do so, I get my x value is equal to 32. And this is solving an equation with fractions using that least common multiple method. Please note, anytime an equation has the distributive property in it, I have to do that first. My second example doesn't have the distributive property. I basically can skip that step. What I need to do is I need to identify the denominators of my fractions, 2 and 6. Now I need to find the least common multiple, and since they're not the same, the least common multiple of 2 and 6 is 6. How do I know this? Simple. I do my 2's tables. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on, and then I do my 6 tables. 6, 12, 18, 24. My goal is I want to pick the first number that appears in both of the columns. And the first number that appears in both columns for 2 and 6 is 6. So now I need to take my equation that I have here and multiply everything by 6. All 3 terms. Now remember, if it has a fraction part, you only multiply the top of the fraction. And if it doesn't have a fraction part like the 8, just multiply that by 6. So what I'm going to get, 1/2 x times 6 becomes 6 over 2x. 8 times 6 becomes 48. And last but not least, 1 over 6x becomes 6 over 6. Again, notice how these simplify so easily. 6 over 2x becomes 3x. 48 stays the same. 6 over 6x becomes 1x. Now, to solve this equation, minus 1x from both sides. When I minus 1x from both sides, I get 2x plus 48 equals 0. My next step, subtract 48 from both sides. When I subtract 48 from both sides, I get 2x equals negative 48. Last but not least, divide both sides by 2. And when I divide both sides by 2, I get my x value, which comes out to be negative 24. Ladies and gentlemen, this is solving equations with fractions using the least common multiple method. I hope you found this lesson both helpful and informative.